one more time. You're saying, will we support funding for the school system?
The question is really simple. The schools don't have enough money. The children don't have enough all these things we're talking about, books, teachers don't have enough pay increases, the buses need to be fixed, schools need to be repaired. The city and the school board, in some way, and I don't know all the technical merits into this, are at an impasse. What plan do you have, if any, to make this happen so we can educate kids? If we don't educate kids in any of our cities and we don't increase their intellectual capacities, new businesses won't come. People won't move to any city. So the question is really simple. Do you have a plan, or you need to think about it as to how we can get past this impasse and educate our children with money? Not thoughts, not prayers, not wishes, not thanks, but with the resources to buy the things that they need. Or do you think we have enough?
Okay, well, the school board requests the money from city council to fund the school system. So we have to rely on who our citizens elected to ensure that they are making, or they are appropriating the correct budget, or asking for the right amount of funds in order to fund the school system. So I'm in full support of supporting the school system. However, the elected officials and the superintendent who was hired and is an expert, or should be an expert, in everything operational regarding the school system, I'm in full support of that. It is an honor that teachers, or the Newport News Education Association, endorsed me and felt like I could be, or I could help and be their voice to make sure that they get the resources that they need. So I support them 110%.
How are you going to do it?
I'm going to vote for vote on the budget that the school system asked for.
That's an answer.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, there is a solution. We've been going back and forth, and last year it was the same dilemma about the raises as there is this year. We thought we had come to a compromise and that we would work it out and wouldn't be at this point again. So going forward, it's going to be imperative. We're going to have to engage our school board members in a different way than we have before. If council has to set the meetings and invite them to the table, we'll do that. The school board does set its own budget and they present to us, but I think that some of the dialogue that should have been had during the school year prior to the budget being presented has not been discussed. So, and some of the people who have attended these meetings over the last few weeks, when I tell you I didn't know, I don't know. And people will tell you, when I know something about it, I do something about it. I have a record of that, and anybody across the city will tell you that. So we are just going to have to come to the table. We're going to have to see that budget before budget time. We're going to have to massage it together. The budget departments are going to have to get together, and I will be more hands-on than I have personally been in the past in seeing what's in that budget, because we didn't even have a copy of the budget until it was passed, so I had no idea what was in it. So we have to do a better job, and that's the best answer I have, Mr. Thomas.
Very good answer. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have kind of a solution. We don't have enough funds in the city to be able to allocate enough money for the school system. But where we do get a lot of our money from is from the legislature. And I, as a city council person, I will go knock on every door in Richmond and speak to every legislature there and ask for more funding for the Newport News school system, so we can fix our buildings, so we can pay our teachers and all of the building maintenance people and the janitors and the cafeteria workers more. But the other thing that we need to check on, and which I have held steadfast to, 1986, the lottery came into effect. And in that lottery, they promised that all of the money from the lottery was going to be going to education in the state of Virginia. I have not seen that come to Newport News. So that's another thing that I plan on doing when I go to Richmond and knock on those doors. I want to know, where is that money going from the lottery? It is not going to the education of our children for the whole state of Virginia, much less Newport News. And with that money, I think we can rebuild our schools. And I think we can give our teachers much better pay, but we need to get those funds from Richmond and from the lottery. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I hope that we can get money from Richmond. I walked and worked for candidates who wanted to do that last year. Some of them made the election, some of them didn't. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to depend on Richmond to give us the money we need, because I can't. My task here is to be your councilman and to solve problems to the best of my ability. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest problems that I see in our budget is that a smaller proportion of our budget is going to schools than it was in 2013. In 2013, as a percentage of our budget, the schools were getting 27.4%. Today, it's down to 22%. It isn't that we don't have the money, it's that we're spending it in the wrong places. You know, part of, well, the biggest part of a council person's job is to make sure that this city has the leadership to place the priorities where they belong. And I believe wholeheartedly that our priorities need to be with the children, they need to be with the bus drivers, they need to be with the cafeteria workers, they need to be with the teachers. All of them work hard for our education system, and we need to compensate them accordingly. The kids need our best effort at education. You know, you only have one chance to get it right with kids, and we need to support our schools 100%. We need to be known as a community that supports education, and I think that will do a lot to increase our economic development here. It's also going to help reduce crime here, and it's going to be wonderful for our communities, but it starts with the schools.
It would be a little disingenuous on my part if I said I didn't want more increased pay for myself. But as far as the schools themselves, as far as the system, this is not just about teacher pay. This is not just about money for everybody. It's about really just how the city can work together. You know, part of this is that the council and the board need to have more joint sessions, and that was said by several people before, and I totally agree. But not only just joint sessions where they're kind of work sessions, we need to have more sessions where you see the council and board actually, and even just kind of in closed doors, just kind of talking things out more. And that's the budget directors of the board and the city council meeting together and really pairing this out. And what I think needs to be done is that there needs to be a kind of a fine-tooth comb to the city budget and find out where you can get as much money as you can. I'm not for raising taxes, I'm not for doing any of that, but I am for cutting spending at places it doesn't belong. We spend a lot of money on places like the airport, spend a lot of money in places like tech center that have a lot of potential but have not reached it yet. And I'd like to see, as a council member, where is that money going and how can we bring that back to the everyday people, not just the teachers, not just police officers, but the entire city. For me, you know, as a teacher, one of the things that I find important is not just about the increased pay, but it's also the idea of, I felt underappreciated over the last couple of years. And that comes not just from council and board, it's none of that. It's just about how the feeling is. And what I'd like to see is more connection of the schools, connection of the young people, because as Mr. Jenkins says, right, the future is our you know, the youth are our future. We need to kind of really try to work with them and get them to build them up to a point that we can actually recruit and encourage all the growth that the city needs.
Next, please.
Thank you. Forming a cohesive relationship is important, but what is also important is really understanding the budget. It's not enough to just say, okay, we're being funded at 22% right now, but it could be 30%. And this is where I come in at. I understand budget. When you're thinking about the budget, you have to start from the bottom up, which means you're going through the line items, you're looking at the different expenditures, and you're seeing what can be reallocated. Once we do that, we'll probably be able to determine if we can fund the school 33% or not. And this is where the importance of joint sessions come in. But it's also important that we have leadership that understand the numbers. If we don't understand the numbers, you can't say if the school board got more than they should have got or they didn't get enough or not. So my answer to the question, because the question was actually, what is your plan? How are you going to fund it?
Yes.
Is to actually review the budget. You have to start from the bottom down. You look at the line items, you see where we can reallocate, and then you prioritize accordingly. I will always be in support of the teachers. Again, my grandmother was a school teacher. My children attend Newport News Public Schools. But we have to understand the money, and then we'll be able to allocate properly. Thank you.
Mr. Green.
Well, Ms. Reeves, you said a great thing. If the new schools, if the city gave us 33%, we wouldn't have no conversations. We would have everything we need. But it starts with relationships and putting egos aside. I believe the city can give us what we need to fund these schools. But it's a back and forth situation. Our children is the best investment that any city can have. When people look to relocate to a city, the first thing they look at is the schools. They want to look at the education system. And everything else falls in line. And how we will fund it is, as a city council member, there wouldn't be no discussion. I would trust the board. I would trust the superintendent. We are all one team. I know if my board come to me and the superintendent say, we need 26% of the budget, we're going to work out together to see how we can make that happen. Because we know our children is our future. And in order for any city to thrive, we must have a strong educational system. So it wouldn't be no back and forth. We will continue to rise the budget. Right now, Newport News is next to last to Portsmouth with the amount of money their city gives to education. That's not good. I want Newport News to be number one. I want us to be back at that 27% we was back in 2013. We can do it. We're a great city. It's just going to take us all working together as one team and one city and one voice. Thank you.
LaTanya Wallace, running for the City Council in the South District. I would look into the budget. Whatever proposed budget that the school board sends forward, I would take a moment and take the time to actually read it and see where the money is being allocated towards. And then we'll work with the school board and my council, my peers on council, to ensure that everything is properly funded. Again, just like Ely stated, we're second to last when it comes to properly and fully funding our educational system here in Newport News. So I will look into the budget, the capital investment, and find areas where we can reduce spending. With 95% of our city being developed, not put money into new development projects, and actually allocate funds into developing our students and further developing our teacher and administrative staff professionally. Also, as an elected official, one of the main things citizens look for when electing us is communication. And we have current leadership that's in place doing the job, but what I will bring is a more collaborative spirit, more open communication, and more opportunity for us to work together, not just as your elected leaders, but including y'all in the discussion as well, letting the constituents know about open comment periods and when they can weigh in on proposed budget allocations. So my plan is to foster better communication between governing bodies, include the citizen comments within that, that process of creating that solution, and then moving forward from there.
Thank you, Miss. All right.